Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Penny Lane podcast. Today, Blayne is joined by neurophysiologist Louisa Nicola, who acts as a brain coach for CEOs, athletes, and investors. They discuss how to optimize your brain for success in this can't-miss episode. Today's show is brought to you by Last Bottle Wines, Magic Mind, Espinita Tequila, and the Personify app. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Enjoy.
Hello, Louisa. Welcome to the Penny Lane podcast. How are you?
Hi, I'm so excited to be here, Penny. Thank you for having me.
Of course. We're so happy you came. So, could you tell us just like a quick 5 minutes about your background?
Yeah. So originally trained as a neurophysiologist. So we're trained to do nerve conduction studies, neurology, EEGs, and I ventured out into my own company, which is the intersection of neuroscience and high performance, really. So I work in two spaces. I work in the athletic field and I work in the hedge fund space here in New York City. And I do everything from brain optimization to basically perfecting somebody's entire nervous system so they can perform better, think faster, and live longer.
Incredible. We, on the podcast, we're like very, very into this subject. We have talked to a lot of people who are trading psychologists and work in the like mental space of trading. And the person we've talked to probably most famously is Jared Tindler, who is a golf coach. Do you know who he is?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And I'm now working with him as like a private coach for just me. And it's just been phenomenal.
And I believe he's more so on the psychology side of things. I work more so on the medical side.
So what's the difference?
So I work on the hardware. So I will do anything from an MRI to an EEG, which is an electroencephalogram. So I'll actually look at the brain and see areas of dysfunction. I'll also do blood work analysis, DNA testing.
Okay, and what are you looking for when you do those tests?
So have you got kids, by the way?
I do, and
okay.
They both have COVID, so...
Oh, no, I'm sorry to hear that.
It's okay. It just really threw a little monkey wrench into our week, so we're all okay. Here. Yeah.
That's cute. So, your question, could you repeat that, please?
What do you use the test for?
So, great question. So, we had I'll give you an example of a patient, okay? He was he had 50 billion under asset management, and he came to me and he's like, Louisa, he was 49 years old. This was in 2019. And he said, Louisa, I'm seeing a decline in my performance. I don't know what's happening. I've assessed the market. Everything was good from a market perspective. His software, his team, he's doing the same things. He said, but I'm just not thinking the same. Things are just not feeling the same. I'm lethargic. I can't, I'm getting brain fog. So I did a brain scan just to really understand what is happening in his brain, because we can feel off some days. We can feel like we're not making sharp, quick decisions, but we don't know what that's from. Could it be from the way we sleep, the way we think? So we did a brain scan on him and we found that his brain was a 65-year-old brain. So it does this normative database and it tells you, okay, this is what a brain looks like at 40, at 45. His brain came back as a 65-year-old, but he was 49. So we had to sit down with him and figure out, why is your brain aging at an accelerated pace? And this is what we do. And we find out, okay, great, we need to get you sleeping better. We need to get you eating better. We need to get you hydrating, etc.
Fascinating. So this podcast is mostly about like my personal journey into learning how to trade, which I started learning how to trade in COVID at 36 years old, which is, later than a lot of people. And I very famously had to quit drinking for like 7 or 8 months to learn how to use the software. And I mean, I just didn't, I'm an artist, so it like didn't naturally come to me how to use the software and learn how to trade and all of that. And then, since then, so many people in the community have taken like a very similar route to just try to cut out anything that could be causing them to not be as sharp. And now we've, as a group, sort of gone into like different added like teas or mushrooms or other things like that that could like elevate some type of like mental performance, which has been so interesting. But what a wonderful thing to have like actual medical evidence of what's going on.
Yeah, that's
versus
exactly
just
right.
like, we'll just troubleshoot.
Yeah, that's completely true, and that's exactly what we do. Everything is, it's never my opinion. It's always, based and backed on science.
Yeah. So your field, how many people like you are there?
I just know of myself right now.
Okay. Yeah. And what's the percentage of athletes versus people in the financial industry?
So I would say it's about 70-30 right now. 70% athletes, high performance. We've got NBA, a few tennis players, NFL players, and then the rest would be corporate organizations and hedge funds. Yeah.
So what's the number one complaint that athletes come to you with?
I just want to feel on my game. I want to be able to think faster. I want to be able to see things in my peripheral vision that others can't see. I want to be able to just feel like I am doing more for less amount of time.
Okay. And
some of them have sleep complaints though, sorry. I've got most of my athletes, when they go through their heavy season, like the NBA playoffs, for example, or, Wimbledon's on right now, they do a lot of traveling. And because of that, they're suffering. Their circadian rhythm is off, their jet lag, their eating is off. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We just interviewed someone who has founded and started, he's the CEO of Hush Mattresses, and he has done so much with like trying to biohack sleep. And he's done it from, his brother's a professional hockey player, and he was almost a professional hockey player, but he had a life situation, so he couldn't be. So he's very into like, first he started a juicing business to try to hack that way. And then he started the mattress company. And it's so interesting how so many people take sleep for granted. But it seems like after talking to him that sleep should really be like a foundation in your health regime.
Yeah, sleep is definitely our most underrated high performance tool we have. I don't recommend anybody on Wall Street well, it doesn't matter where you are in the world actually. I wouldn't recommend anybody in this space. If you're trading, if you're in finance, if you're in business, if you aren't sleeping, then you're probably leaving a lot of money on the table. What
are your first just general recommendations for better sleep?
So I have many, and I always say that sleep starts when you wake up, okay? So first and foremost, you need to set your clock. We've got this 24-hour clock known as the circadian rhythm. We need to set that, and the way to set that is by getting bright light. Okay, preferably from the sun. So if we're going out and we're setting our circadian rhythm at around 7 a.m., then we know that at around 7 or 8 p.m., we're going to start to get a bit sleepy. So that's the first thing that we want to do. The second thing is we want to minimize light between the hours of 8 p.m. onwards. So as soon as 8 p.m. comes, we want to try and minimize the amount of light that's coming in. Alcohol, you mentioned it. Alcohol disrupts sleep patterns. So alcohol gets in and it actually robs you of deep sleep and REM sleep. And these two things are really crucial when it comes to memory formation, when it comes to growth hormones, when it comes to recovery. So we don't want to do anything that's going to kick us out of these sleeps, because essentially what you're doing is sedating yourself. You're just knocking yourself out. So steering clear of alcohol. And then just the other thing, sleeping at the same time every single night, if you can, preferably 10 p.m. Or earlier. And consistency, the brain loves consistency. If you can get into a consistent sleep pattern, that's a really good thing as well.
Do you recommend anything for actually falling asleep?
Falling asleep, we classify that in physiology as sleep latency. How long does it take you to fall asleep? Look, that depends on how stressed you are, right? So if you're having a stressful day and your mind is going a million miles an hour, it's going to be hard for you to fall asleep. So eliminating as much stress as you can, sleeping in a cool room. So I sleep on an 8-sleep mattress, which is a temperature controlled mattress. So doing something like that is always going to help you as well.
Do you recommend any meditating as you're going to sleep?
I don't, but if a form of meditation helps calm down your nervous system, then that's more than fine. Yeah.
Okay, so let's just go, I guess, could you just describe to me what an optimal day would be if someone was following all your blueprint advice for how to optimize themselves?
Yeah, well, look, depending on who they are, everybody's very different. It would start by getting a morning walk first thing in the morning for around 20 minutes, getting as much natural sunlight as you can. If you're going to work, then figuring out when the optimal time is to exercise. I think exercise in and of itself is really important, and your morning walk is not classified as exercise, So exercising in the form of going to the gym and doing weights, you can figure out when to do that, and coming home and setting yourself up for sleep. So we do a lot of other things such as neuromotor training. Everybody's got their own different protocols. Everybody's got their own sleeping environments. We've got some form of journaling that takes place, and that generally happens after dinner. Then there's a lot of supplementation protocols as well. So taking all of
Wait, what does that mean? Supplementation protocols.
So supplements. So depending on your blood work, you may be deficient in a few things, and being deficient in, if you've got a low omega-3 index, for example, omega-3 fatty acids, we may get you supplementing with 2 grams in the morning and 2 grams at night. So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so how many people who come to you, I think this, for all doctors, I think this is fascinating, but make the effort to come to you and you do a full workup on them and give them all the steps to follow. How many people fully implement that?
I would say between 95 and 100, because...
Whoa, okay.
Well, the thing is, it does my company a disservice if you don't follow the program. So we actually let people go. That's the first thing, maybe fire them. Second thing is, I'm not cheap. So you're coming to me for advice, and if you don't put this into place, you're not going to get the results that you need. You're also going to be paying for no reason. So...
Right.
Yeah. So, and we're very careful with who we work with, because we can't just work with anybody. It's, I've only got a finite amount of time. I've got 8 staff members, but I look after the most elite people. So, yeah.
I like that a lot. My mom is a luxury real estate agent here in Atlanta, and she's been at the top of her game for a very long time. She started her own company. And her secret to success is picking the right clients, which is it's always been so fascinating to me, because there's people who are sort of desperate. Desperate's a icky word, but they'll take anything. They're like, I can sell anything. But she can hand pick what she sells, and it has just set her up for phenomenal success.
That's exactly right. And it just doesn't, because, the people who don't implement your protocols can say at the end, oh, I got nothing. from neuroathletics and then that does my company a disservice, right? Because they didn't put in the protocols. Yeah.
Irrational exuberance? When it comes to killer wine at drastically low prices, 30 to 70% off retail and free shipping, we live for that here at Last Bottle Wines. Whether you went long or short on GameStop, you'll need a glass of something terrifically tasty, and we've got the goods. Last Bottle is a daily wine site based in Napa, California. One wine every day at Black Swan event prices, usually 30 to 70% off until, poof, it's gone. Whether you're a pound-the-table type, think ultra-crisp, quaffable Sauvignon Blanc, or a dividend aristocrat, Burgundy, or Napa Cab, there simply is no better place to buy wine on the web, and they always have free shipping. Last Bottle has a deal just for Penny Lane listeners. Use promo code PENNY10 to save 10% on your next order with Last Bottle. The code is good for one order and one order only.
This episode is brought to you by a new social investing platform called Personify. Personify is a gathering place for both stock and crypto investors to share trade ideas, portfolios, and investment analysis with the community. The app was inspired by modern investors who enjoy trading within a community and sharing ideas, but lacked a platform specifically designed for it. Traditional social media platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and Discord weren't designed specifically with this in mind, which makes it difficult for creators to share and learn. Personify is great because it's the only platform that specifically acts as a personal investing journal where subscribers can learn while also keeping track of their own thoughts and ideas. It's a culture devoted to learning and understanding the why behind trading strategies. It's the go-to social destination for both economic content creators as well as students of the market. Download the app and join the Personify community today.
All right, we're back. How much of what you implement is diet-based?
So we have 4 areas that we work in, and they're all split evenly. There's sleep, there's nutrition or diet, there's exercise, and then there's the neurophysiology, which is the neuromotor cognitive training. So, yeah.
Do you have like a meal plan for people to follow?
You know what? I don't believe in meal plans. I just believe in we look at your, what you need, and I'm going to give that to you, and you can take into consideration everything else. Obviously, we say steer clear of alcohol, refined sugars, excessive amounts of alcohol, but wine is okay. But we don't really...
Interesting.
Yeah.
There is a podcast, Rebecca Minkoff. Do you know who that is? Has a brand, like a fashion brand. Anyway, she has a podcast, and she was talking to the owner of a brand called Vintner's Daughter, which is a face oil serum that she got the idea because she's like a 5th generation wine family. And the way that this family makes the wine is that they only put grapes in it. And it turns out from this podcast that there are wine companies that put in different additives and stuff that aren't as healthy as like just the grapes. What do you know about that?
I don't know too much about that, but I do know that there is organic wines, obviously. But I've always wanted to know what the difference is between an organic wine and, one of my actual things that I want to do later on in life when I retire is learn about wine. I have a fascination. I'm Greek, so I love food, and I love red wine, and I'd really love to understand how it's made. Actually, in a few months, I'm going over to Europe, and I'm going to this olive farm where we make fresh olives, where we make fresh olive oil, but also I believe that they've got a winemaking, like you can make fresh wine as well. So I'm going to try that.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I'm going to send you this podcast.
Okay.
I'm also going to link the podcast in these show notes. I know you're very, very busy, but it was like from a female entrepreneur and sort of like getting down to the purity of the craft of something. I thought it was really a phenomenal episode.
Oh, wow. No, I'd love to listen to it.
So, what made you get into this space?
I really felt like I needed to be here from an education perspective. I see so much happening in this world where people are feeling like they're not performing at their best, and they're doing things that are just not making sense. They're ingesting coffee, they're not sleeping because they believe that they should sleep when they're dead. They're not aging well. They're just not happy. And instead of following the science and what we know and what we deem to be logical, they're doing things elsewhere. So, and there was also no spot in sport. When you look at elite sport, there was no. I've been doing this now for since 2014. Okay, so almost 10 years, and it's only just getting a breakthrough, only just understanding the brain. We've still got a long way to come. So I really got into this space very early. And, 10 years ago, we were talking about psychology, which is more so along the lines of how are you feeling? How can we turn it around? The psychological aspect of sport and money. Whereas I'm coming in from a hardware perspective saying, well, your brain is atrophying. Atrophy is literally loss of muscle cell size. So it's atrophying, and this is why you're not able to think properly. This is why you're not able to react appropriately. And I wanted to come into it from that perspective.
Are you from Australia?
Yes, I am.
So how big of a difference is there culturally as far as like living, eating, aging, that kind of thing in Australia versus in New York?
Well, it's not that big, which is why I moved. Australia's got a population of about 22 or 23 million, I believe. America's got 220 million, and you just couldn't compare. In America, we're 10 years in front of the Australian market, especially when it comes to the sports field. And so I needed to be where the most elite athletes were. Mm-hmm. And we haven't got many hedge funds in Australia either.
Right.
So, yeah.
Do your athletes come to you, or do you go to them?
Both. You'll generally find me, if you follow me on social media, you'll see that I'm always on a plane. It's because I'm traveling from New York which is terrible, traveling from New York to LA, to San Fran, to Miami. And that's because I follow the teams as well. So I'll follow Miami Heat. I follow the Dodgers, and I travel a lot for that. So it's a difficult life right now because I can't scale myself.
Man, I hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but you have 8 people as your staff.
Yeah.
But people want you.
People want me, and my staff members are like the CMO, the CFO, we've got lead generator, we've got brand, so they're not coaches per se.
Yeah.
Well, I do have 2 coaches, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then please.
You're in the trading space, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Let me give you an example. What does your day look like?
Okay, so I wake up. I am kind of a late sleeper, so wake up around 7:30, and then I try to do like a morning meditation. I like to be very intentional about how I spend my day, so I spend 30 to 40 minutes just going through that sort of mind, getting ready stuff. Go on a walk for about 30 minutes, and then I don't really eat breakfast, but just sort of get prepared, take a shower, whatever I want to do, get prepared for the market to open at 9:30. I like to trade from about 9:30 until 11 or 11:30. Then I'll have lunch, and then my afternoon, I also run an art business. So my favorite thing to do is go to the studio for a few hours and sort of work that creative side of my brain. And then I usually record a podcast sometimes I'll do 2 a day, like from 3 to 5 or 6. I podcast, and then I'll cook dinner for my family, put the kids to sleep. That's the day, every day.
And wow. And do you feel as though, is there any point in your life where you feel like you can be doing much more or achieving much more in the same amount of time?
Yes.
Yeah, and what seems to hold you back with that?
I spend a lot of time on my phone.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know that, but you still do that. Yeah. And, sadly, like when we're not getting out and getting a lot of sunlight in our eyes, it kind of disrupts our sleep patterns as well. And we should be aiming for around 2 to 3 hours of sunlight per day. I try and do that as well. And it's, we're really reprogramming our brain when we're on the phone. I always say that you are who you follow. And that's something that I'm trying to embed into everybody. If you're following, these people on TikTok and Instagram, you end up becoming just like them because you take on their thinking patterns and their thought patterns.
That's so interesting. It's like you're the product of the 5 people you surround yourself with the most. Same idea.
This is correct. And it could be something in your diet that you're not having, enough hydration, for example, supplements. So it's just it's something that you have to explore yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been interesting because I have all of these like very big things that I want to do with all 3 of my buckets, my trading bucket, my podcast bucket, and my art bucket. And I am sort of slowly like making sacrifices of things like alcohol or what have you. I'm sort of sacrificing things that I am like, this doesn't foster my dream. So my life is becoming much more focused on like, I am trying to do these things. But there is, I think maybe aging is part of it too, when it's like, okay, enough trying to do this the way that like is wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What's the breakdown of your clientele, men versus women?
That's so funny that you said that. It's actually 100% men right now.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. I haven't got you 1-to-1. We're actually just about to launch an online school, if you will. No, I wouldn't call it school, but we're going to have a lot of online programs that are geared towards helping people at mass, because I just can't seem to serve as many people. And I think this area of brain health is one that needs to be out there. I think that the brain, your brain, we all have a brain, and our nervous system is something that we need to honor and understand. And if we can, you can build any life that you want. You've just got to understand your brain. So we're going to have programs such as, the brain during menopause, or, the brain during stress, brain and sleep, brain and finance, things like this. And, they're going to sell them for very, very, very little amount of money, $49, and just have, many of them so people can be like, oh, shit, I really need to understand this. I'll buy this program today. Yeah.
That's such a good idea on your part, too. And it sort of forces you to get your message compacted,
Absolutely.
Which is a very nice thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're really excited about that. So that will hopefully have a lot of women in it.
Yes. I'm in a, not really that similar, but I mean, our podcast audience is like 95% men, because trading is a male-dominated thing, and being a woman in that field has been very interesting. But I do feel like it's given me the freedom to explore more of the human side. Like, I always like to say that our podcast is a holistic approach to trading. So, like, you want to make yourself as whole and well-rounded as possible so you can be well-rounded and make good decisions in the market. And I think that that's a nice, I don't know, I feel very privileged to be able to have that conversation, because, so much of trading is longevity. Like, you have to survive. And there are a lot of people who come in and work very, very hard and burn out very, very quickly, and they're gone. So you have to get yourself in a state where you're like mentally and physically healthy enough to go through that incredible grind, because it can take 5 or 6 years.
Well, that's right. And it also comes down to endurance, okay? So brain endurance during the day. I'm not talking about for 5 years. I'm talking about how can you just get through the next 24 hours at your peak? And that involves a lot of, are you hydrating correctly? Are you eating the right foods? Are you waking up at the right time? This is really important stuff.
Talk to me about hydrating, because I just recently, I had an eye twitch for a month. It was horrific. And during that time, I was like taking all the magnesium and potassium and working on hydrating and working on getting my stress down. And I had to do a Google of how much water you should be drinking. And there are varied reports. I'd love to know from you what you think.
Well, that's exactly right. I think one thing that we're missing in hydration is electrolytes. You know, our brain survives on electrolytes. So we have these things in our brain. Our brain are made up of cells, but this type of cell is called a neuron. And they're nerve cells, and they're through our spinal cord in our brain. And when these cells communicate with each other, it's via an electrical impulse called a synapse. And this involves electrolytes to happen. There's a sodium and potassium pump. So you could say that our brain relies heavily on electrolytes. And unfortunately, because we're not, a lot of financial people, day traders, are not going out, and because they're not sweating, they believe they don't need electrolytes, but they really do. They really do. So drinking electrolytes is so imperative for your hydration, and that could probably alleviate some of the eye twitching.
Totally. I see that water you're drinking is the electrolyte infused water, right?
Well, I live in New York City, okay, and for some reason today in my building, they decided that they were going to work on the taps. So I'm just like, and they don't tell us. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And they send out an email saying, okay, the taps are on, but the water is yellow. I'm like, I'm not touching that. And usually I filter my water, but it was yellow. Everything's yellow. I'm like, this is disgusting. So before you called, I ran downstairs to the bodega, and I had to buy Essentia. This is how I have to live for the next 24 hours. It's just ridiculous. You know, it's when I first moved here, they said they did this. I had to run to an interview, and they said, you know, I turned on the shower, and I had just gone for a run, and I was pouring sweat. It was so hot outside. And they just said, no, there's no water for the next 24 hours. I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, yeah, welcome to New York City. I was like, what? Because this doesn't happen in Australia. So that's why I'm drinking this water. But yeah, I guess it really is purified water and electrolytes for taste.
Do you do anything? Do you add, how do you get your electrolytes other than just drinking the purified tap water?
I drink Element, LMNT. There's sachets of electrolytes and sodium. They contain a lot of sodium, so I drink those throughout the day. Usually just 1 cup. Actually, I've got some in here. So I've got 2 drinks with me right now.
Do you, have you tried liquid IV?
I have, yeah, and I like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So how would you, if one of your athletes had the Atlanta Braves played the Dodgers last year in the playoffs. So
yeah, Atlanta won, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
For the first time in a very long time. So
Damn.
you know, yeah. There's a lot of really cute players on the Dodgers, so I am jealous that you get to work with the Dodgers. But let's say you have a World Series game or a playoff game. What would you tell your athletes to do? Is there anything extra special you would have them do to prepare for a huge game?
Well, yes. That's my IP right there. It's hard for me to tell you what they would do. I mean, there are many things that we would do, and I work one-on-one with them, and we do a lot of things such as visual acuity training, looking into the eye, figuring out all 4 quadrants of the eye if they're working at their maximum, and we do a lot of training for the eyes as well, and that's one of the biggest things we do in baseball.
What do you do if you need like glasses or contacts?
Very rare, but some people do, and there are performance-based contact lenses in the Major League Baseball team. And actually, in basketball, there is a very good player, Steph Curry, who actually had I'm trying to think of the disease, where his eye was his retina, where it's round, instead of being round, it was actually like in the shape of a football, kind of. And so he had to get corrective eye surgery for that, but that didn't put him they didn't put him off his mark. He got special contact lenses, and he's performing at his peak.
So
I'll look that up, but yeah.
most Major League Baseball players have 20/20 vision.
Well, no, they've actually got more than that. They've got about 20/12. It's called...
Without LASIK, without anything, just naturally.
Yeah. Well, yeah, some people are born with it. Actually, they say with Major League Baseball that you can predict if somebody's going to be a good ball player based on their eyesight from a young age. It's called... Yeah, so it's called... so Steph Curry is living with keratoconus. Yeah.
Fascinating. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Is it just baseball?
What do you mean?
That has that percentage of people with perfect vision.
Yeah, baseball is, and I would say that tennis is the same, because what you're doing is, in your field of vision, you're having to see a ball travel extremely fast and towards you, at the blink of an eye. And so the better your vision is. 20/20, I have 20/20.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
But doesn't mean that I can see a ball coming from far away. So with baseball players, they can see the ball coming in their eyesight. They can see it coming before I can see it coming. And that enables them to then react to it in a certain way. Whereas the ball will be coming and I might see it here and they might see it here, So.
I had no idea. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Do you work with football players?
I did, but I'm open when I say that I'm against the NFL. So I've got maybe 2 left, but I'm not a fan of the NFL anymore.
For, I'm sure, obvious reasons.
Concussion reasons, I think.
Yeah.
It's very damaging to the brain. I don't believe that it should be a legal sport.
Bo, I'm so excited to tell you something. You know how I've been posting my P&Ls on Twitter and they've been getting so much better?
Yes.
Okay, so I've been using this new product called Magic Mind. And, we're really into biohacking and making our brains better. And it's full of nootropics and it is phenomenal. I used to take a ton of Adderall, and then, as you know, I had to stop because I had the heart condition. And this is so much better than Adderall. It is I'm so calm. I'm so focused. I'm so efficient. I have been doing things that I've been putting off for years just because they're on my list and I'm just doing them. I'm not like that. I'm a creative.
So this is the magic sauce, huh?
Yeah, you just take this bottle in the morning. It says it's best to try it for 3 days. And I thought maybe I was having just a placebo effect. So I got my husband on it. He's will not go to work without it. And then I also have my mom on it. I gave her 3 bottles and she called me yesterday and was like, I have to come over and get more bottles just so that I have them before my order arrives. We're all on it. And man, our minds are really popping.
Wow. Sounds like I am missing out.
Yeah, you should try it. Let me tell you how. You can go to magicmind.co/penny, which you can also find at the link in this episode. And if you use the discount code penny20, you can get 20% off a one-time order or 40% off a subscription. Now, I would recommend you go ahead and get the subscription, but if you want to try it, that's fine too. And this offer is only good for the next 10 days. So we have to get the whole team on it. Can you imagine how streamlined the podcast will be?
Sounds like a game changer to me. 40% is a lot.
That's a lot. That's a big percent. I really do want to get us all on it so that we can just be like trading superstars and podcast superstars.
Well, I'm going to the website right after this then.
Okie doke. Hi guys, I wanted to introduce you to our new sponsor, Espinita Tequila. They sent me some bottles to try, and this is, the unopened one, but I think it's so lovely. I love their branding. It's so clean and fun, and I just think it's beautiful. I also have tried the tequila, and it is very good. Like, I really like just a tequila and soda or just tequila on the rocks. I really like tasting the tequila, and I think that this tastes great, has a great aftertaste. And, tequila's popularity is really on the rise. All my friends now are drinking tequila and soda when they used to drink vodka and soda. So if you want to try that, you can certainly try this brand. They're doing very cool things as a company, and you can click the link in the bio and find out more. What about golfers?
I love golfers. I don't have any. I try and stick to my lane. Maybe I'll delve into the golfing world in a few years. It's very hard to work with many different people. I'm one person. So I've worked with golfers before, but I don't have a steady stream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really liked that when I was talking to Jared Tindler. We're very big on the podcast about the parallels between trading and golf. I think there are many, and if you have strengths in one, you can have strengths in the other.
Yeah.
Just personal opinion, but I really am trying to get it out there.
Yeah. Look, it's when it comes to the brain, people don't realize that eyes are just two pieces of your brain. So working on your eyesight, even in the trading space, can help your brain.
So you don't work with traders, you work with hedge fund managers.
Well, I work with traders, I work with portfolio managers, and then I work with entire hedge funds.
Wow.
Yeah, so when I say work with, I will, I've got one in New York City where I go in once a month, and we work with around 70 of their traders and managers.
And just do like a checkup?
Well, yeah, we'll do a checkup, we'll do a training protocol with them. Give them a seminar, if you will.
How do you measure your work's success?
Revenue?
No. I mean, yes, of course. But I mean, like, how do you monitor the progress, let's say, with a trader? Like, how would you mark beginning progress versus...
We do pre and post scans. So we'll do a scan on week one. We'll also do blood work. We'll do everything. And then we'll do tests. We've got over 50 different tests that we do. And then we'll redo the exact same one 6 months later.
I'm very interested in, do people rate their happiness, like general just life happiness at all?
What do you mean?
So it would seem to me that if you started doing the things that you knew that you were supposed to do and then started getting success, be it with sports or with more money or being better at your job, that happiness would come as a byproduct of that.
That's true.
Wouldn't have.
Yeah. No, and it's funny because we've got this guy who is he's our only person that we accepted. He's in a band, very, very well known band, but he was on tour and his bus crashed and he ended up with a huge concussion, and he's just got many different problems now. He's been on our concussion protocol for the past 3 months, and he's like, Louisa, he was like crying about how happy he was. He's like, I've never felt this way before. It's taken so long. So I guess so.
Do you deal with many people who have had any sort of drug problems in there? I'm sure that athletes haven't, but like, there are drugs in society.
No, not yet. Thank God. Yeah. I mean, look, a lot of my portfolio managers do have the occasional party drug here and there, which I advocate against. Yeah.
It seems like sort of part of the culture, I guess. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I think that's super interesting about the happiness and how it can be a byproduct of your process.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also think it's interesting that people are afraid to be like, I want to do this to be happier. Or it seems to me like that. Like people are always trying to better themselves to do a certain thing that they think might make them happy or whatever. But like seeking actual happiness sort of seems like a taboo in American society, I guess.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
because happiness can't really be measured, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So you tell me a little bit more about your program that you are launching for the general public. Do you have a timeline for that?
Yeah, it will be second week of August. We're also launching one specifically for day traders, which is great.
Ooh!
Yes.
That's fantastic.
It's going to be very exciting, and it's going to be an actual 4-week course. So it's not just a little. It is going to be a 4-week course, and it'll take you through everything you need to know about your brain and trading excellence.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Starting August,
It'll be
the second week
mid-August.
of August.
Mid-August, so let's just call it the 15th.
Oh, I definitely want to do that.
Yeah.
I'm so committed to doing stuff like this. That sounds incredible.
Yeah, well, we'd love to have
Yeah.
you. It'll be very exciting.
Do you get like live coaching or is it just a solitary going through it?
You're going to go through it. It's going to be all online, and then I will come on twice, so every second week, so you'll get me twice, and we'll be doing a live chat like this.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Do you have a lot of how have you marketed your program, or is it just you have so much interest already?
I have so much interest already, and that's a good question. I'm going to have to. That's my why I've hired a chief marketing officer to do that. But look, it's getting on podcasts. I was on a very big podcast not too long ago, the Investors Podcast, TIP, and that got a lot of interest as well. So I know that it's out there. I know that there are, and you've probably heard of this. Maybe you can be my problem solver. I think when it comes to the financial space, people want to know, Louisa, how can I just feel better? I'm feeling lethargic. I'm feeling drained. I stare at my computer all day. Like, it's literally just to me it's basic, but I was in school for 15 years learning.
Yeah.
But for the everyday person, they maybe don't know, the 4 areas: sleep, nutrition, exercise, and neuroathletics. What do you have to do in these 4 areas? Why? How can you apply it? And once you do it, it's very easy. Once you just do the protocols, you will make more money. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it very much is. It's like, well, you will see things and make decisions that will end up giving you better returns on your current decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that you probably need a spokesperson for that.
Okay.
Not like a spokesperson, but like, I think once you have somebody go through the program and see the returns and then talk about the returns, you'll be like, that's why people join rooms. They pay so much money to other people to teach them how to trade, to do, like, people want a program to follow. So once somebody with any kind of following does it, I feel like it'll be like wildfire. That's
and it's going to be a very very affordable price. So I don't see why not.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Well, hope to have you on in the.
I'd love to do it.
Yeah.
I'd love to do it.
Exciting.
So what are the different areas you're doing other than day trading?
For the program?
Yes.
It'll be the entire. Day trading, portfolio managing. I think that's going to be the only space there. Yeah. But day traders, depending on what, I've worked with traders who are making anywhere from, 100 trades and, down from under 20. You have to treat them differently, anywhere from like 50 to 100. I was thinking about separating them, but I'm thinking, no, just put them all into one bucket.
I think you could do actually like day trading versus swing trading, and then you could also, if you wanted to do a third one, do scalping Scalpers are people who make 100 plus trades a day. And it's a very different mentality than like, I'm a day trader, so I take 3 to 4 day trades a day, and then swinging you hold, for 2 or 3 days. And it's all a different mentality. It's a different type of person.
But at the end of the day, I understand that. At the end of the day, you still need energy. You still need to have a high-performing brain. And that's pretty much the basics. Maybe later on, but we need to start from the ground up like a pyramid. And that will be what it is. It'll be literally neuroathletics for day trading 101. Understand how to optimize your brain for better performance. That was actually a great tagline just there. Yeah. I'll have to listen back to this and show my team. I'll be like, take that, what I said.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think that it's very, very needed in this space.
Yeah.
Very needed. And I think that there are people who feel, right now people feel really at the end of their rope.
Well,
people
especially
are losing a ton of
Bitcoin.
money.
I've lost all of my money.
Yes,
well,
people are losing a ton of money. We're in a bear market. It is hard. It is so hard. And day trading, this is my personal estimation, but I think about 95% of people who try to do it fail. I mean, so it is like guerrilla warfare. Like, you are out there. It is so difficult to succeed. So people come into it down and feeling defeated
within the first month.
Oh no, it takes a year
to feel
usually.
Defeated.
No. For the first 95% the first year they say 90% of people leave the market. Within the first 2 years, it would be 95%. So if you can stay for 2 years in that final 5%, then those are the people who are able to make it a full-time thing, a full-time job. But even within that 5%, there are a sect of that 5% who are making like minimum wage. So it is an even smaller part of people who get actually wealthy from day trading. And so everybody feels defeated. Even the people who have gone through it to make it to the end, it is mentally and physically and emotionally exhausting.
So saying that then, what would you, if you were that person, not saying you are, but let's just put you in that category, what would make you say, I need to do this neuroathletics program?
Well, I would do it because I think that I have learned what I need to learn. I'm over 2 years in, so I've certainly dedicated what I need to do. I've made a massive dedication monetarily, and I've taken time away from my family, but I still am like struggling. Like I have not even made it back to even. I'm doing it every day and haven't made it back to even. And I think that's why so many people listen to the podcast, because I represent the vast majority of traders who have made it. And at this point, like, I've already made such major sacrifices that I've certainly proven to myself that I want it very badly. So doing kind of whatever it takes is like no big deal, because I've already done what I think I can do, So I would be like, if I've done everything I think I can do and I want this as badly as I could possibly want something, then why not?
Exactly.
Try a different approach.
There you go. I love that.
Well, I'm so excited for your program. Wish I could start it today.
Yeah. Well, I'll definitely reach out to you on Twitter when it's live, and you can go in and check it out.
Perfect. Well, I know people listening to this episode, plus I just know the community so well, and I know there would be so many people within the podcast community that would jump at the chance to do that too. So
that's amazing. I'm looking forward to it all.
Me too. And we all, like, it's such a tight-knit group. So many of us in the podcast community, like, love doing things together. So it would be kind of cool to, like, if all my group of friends did it, then then it becomes like a little thing.
Yeah, and we'll definitely, you know, if
I don't know.
if you've got a group, then we'll definitely give you all a discount. The Penny Lane
Oh,
podcast
fantastic.
discount.
Oh, this is going to be so fun.
Yeah.
Plus, at the end of summer going into fall, I love to really
Wind down.
really get my life
Yeah,
back
yeah.
on track, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
That's exactly right.
I'm eating the kids' pizza and, you know, whatever, just surviving summer. So,
Yeah.
I love a good fall reboot.
I love that. Well, Penny, thank you so much.
Yes, no problem. I have enjoyed this thoroughly. I'm so excited for your program, and I really, really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you in the neuroathletics community in the future.
Can't wait.
By accessing this podcast, you acknowledge that the Penny Lane podcast makes no warranty, guarantee, or representation as to the accuracy or sufficiency of the information featured in this podcast. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. This podcast should not be considered professional or financial advice. Unless specifically stated otherwise, the Penny Lane podcast does not endorse, approve, recommend, or certify any information, product, process, service, or organization presented or mentioned in this podcast, and information from this podcast should not be referenced in any way to imply such approval or endorsement. The third-party materials or content of any third-party site referenced in this podcast do not necessarily reflect the opinions, standards, or policies of the Penny Lane podcast. The Penny Lane podcast assumes no responsibility or liability for the accuracy or completeness of the content contained in third-party materials or on third-party sites referenced in this podcast, or the compliance with applicable laws of such materials and or links referenced herein.